outside of a love contractual relationship, such as Nora was talking about? Is it okay to have recreational sex, one-night stands? How does your religion view that?
As long as it, now remember, paganism is an umbrella term, just like Christianity is an umbrella term.
Okay.
There's a lot of different paths underneath paganism, just like Christianity. So each path can have its own little tweaks and nuances, but overall, in a general concept, like I said, as long as it's ethical and consensual, then it's usually celebrated. So now, like, I'm married, and I've been married for 12 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I can, if me and my husband are okay with the concept, we've discussed it, we've, whatever, as long as it harms none,
mm-hmm.
one of us could actually be with someone else as well.
Okay. And is your husband a pagan as well, or Wiccan?
He is Buddhist.
Okay, Buddhist.
So,
and now,
right.
Do Buddhists they don't really have any sexual prescriptions, right?
No, pretty much the only thing that Buddhism has is to abstain from sexual misconduct.
Okay.
And the way that can be read, it can be interpreted any way, but the way it is interpreted by him is that there's no cheating.
Okay. So they leave that up to the individual? They leave the
right.
idea of sexual misconduct up to the individual in Buddhism?
For the most part, right.
Okay.
So cheating would be harmful to everyone involved, so that's not allowed. And in my religion that wouldn't be allowed because that harms someone.
Although Buddhist monks and nuns are chaste, right? They're expected to refrain from sexual activity, I believe.
That's my understanding, but that would be my husband's forte more than mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are actually Buddhist monastics are, but there are in some traditions of Buddhism there are non-celibate religious leaders as well.
Right.
Yeah, not Todd was laughing when I said chaste, not chaste like they're chased around the block, Todd. Meaning
chased around the room.
Meaning chastity, chaste. Obviously, Todd doesn't practice chastity, do you, Todd? So, Todd, what are your thoughts? Have you ever met anyone who is a Wiccan or?
Nope.
And what are your thoughts on this?
Sounds intriguing.
So,
like to know more.
My husband and I, we actually travel around the country and teach people how to embrace their sexuality.
Wow.
So we come across a lot of people of different paths that it doesn't matter their religion. They're trying to find their seat of power in their sexuality.
And how do you find these groups? I mean, where are you advertising to in the religious community at all? Or?
I'm curious. You've said the seat of power in your sexuality. What does that? What is it, and how would you know when you've found your seat?
Is that an orgasm?
If you feel empowered in your sexuality, that's your seat of power.
Give me an example of who's empowered in your sexuality.
Who's empowered and who isn't? I guess.
Well,
what would that mean? You have a good night? You did a good job with your spouse? I mean,
maybe she means guilt. Like, if you have guilt, are you empowered?
Right. If you have guilt, you're not empowered. If you're celebrating and you see sexuality as a great thing, that would be empowered in your sexuality. You're not embarrassed by it. You're okay to talk about it. You're okay to do it. You're okay to
so you're
take
teaching
it by the horns and do what you want to with it.
No pun intended. Take it by the horns. But so you're teaching the opposite of what religions for thousands of years have been trying to instill in us, which is guilt.
Absolutely, because paganism is an ancient religion. We used to have rituals around sexuality, and some of us are trying to bring that back.
So, for example, what kind of rituals would you endorse?
Well, actually, my husband and I put something together called the Scarlet Sanctuary, and this is a ritual of sacred touch. So it's more sensual than it is sexual, but people actually come to this sacred space just to be touched.
So is this similar to what Tantra teaches? Tantric sex?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It sounds like it, yeah. Which is based on, it has spiritual principles, though, right?
Right. And that's where Tantra and Kadishti are kind of parallel.
Okay. Interesting.
Tantra's more from its space, Indian stuff like that. Kadishti is more Middle Eastern Sumerian.
So
kind of the same principles.
Interesting. So paganism is borrowed from Hinduism or vice versa, right? Hinduism.
Todd, are you as lost as I am?
You guys they're getting lost in the rituals. We need to simplify this for them.
I'm sorry.
I'm a guy. You got to keep
just go
it
back to
real
orgasm.
simple.
Orgasms can be part of ritual, you know?
That's right.
You send that energy out
Now,
for people
orgasm,
feeling.
I understand.
Just make sure your
I
wife
wouldn't
has
go
one,
from there.
guys. That's what we're trying to tell you in a very complicated way. Girls come
Yes.
first.
So,
Hopefully.
but this is all great stuff. And, you know, I read the story on the Malaysian women.
Yeah, what
as
did you think
well,
of that?
About being whores in the bed for their husbands.
Mm-hmm.
I love the idea of being a whore in the bed. But I don't like the reasoning.
I understand. Right. So they're saying that, they're talking about trying to prevent domestic violence and divorce. Go ahead,
I don't
Todd.
like the terminology.
Well, Todd doesn't like the terminology. You're saying it's a negative reference?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, well, see, we've taken the word whore and the word slut and turned it into positive terminology.
Yeah,
It just means someone someone that embraces their sexuality and their freedom in their sexuality.
Hey, baby, you're such a slut. Bang! Right in the face.
No, well,
No.
actually, you know, the rape walks, the rape survivor walks are now called slut walks because so many
Right, yes, they are.
victims were blamed for their rapes and called, you know, basically made to be, quote, sluts in court. And so now they call the rape walks slut walks, which is very interesting. So you're right. Women are trying to reclaim those terms that have been negative and derogatory towards them.
Ladies,
Right.
I'd like to take a quick break here, ladies. So if you could just hold with us, we'll get back to you as
Hang
soon as
on.
we get back from our break. Again, this is Reality Radio. Oh, also, before I go, a couple of people in the chat.
Give me your love, early morning. Got my body told I want your love. Give me your love.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Reality Radio. Tonight's segment is Reality Sexuality. We're talking about sex and religion. A wonderful, wonderful grouping, I think.
All kinds of religion.
And we have, boy, do we have a couple of people still online with us. Nora, you still there?
Yes.
You know,
All right. And Dawn, you're still there?
I'm still here.
And we
We've
have
got
Todd
everyone.
here, Ingrid, myself. We got a whole crew going on here.
You know what I wonder is, are men changing their religions and faiths and converting, you know, either into religion or out of religion or into different religions as much as the women on our panel tonight? Or
I have no idea.
I have no.
anybody have thoughts on that, Dawn or Nor?
I don't know. I know my husband was raised in a non-religious home. Went through a couple of different trials and errors with different religions, and then settled on Buddhism, which matched his philosophy.
So men are questioning their faith as well and trying to find a spirituality that works for them.
I absolutely believe that. The festival that I just came back from had about 300 people. About half are men, and a lot of them talked about how they used to be Christian or something else, but found their home in paganism.
Mm-hmm. And what do you see as the downside of organized religion or Christianity, or you know what you've seen in your workshops? What's the downside of religion that you're seeing as it relates to sexuality, and then what would the upside be?
Well, it would really be the guilt part, because you know that they come to the workshops going, you know, I really feel sexual and I want to embrace my sexuality, but you know, is it really right?
Yeah.
And you know, and we can talk to them and share our stories and try to relieve some of that guilt, but they'll still have to walk their own path until that happens. So as for benefits of organized religion,
Or
if that's what you were asking me,
yeah, I can see.
I'm not seeing too many.
And what about a strong faith then? What about a relationship with God? So for those of us who call ourselves spiritual and having a relationship with God as opposed to being more religious, what have you seen as the upside of faith in relationships and within sexuality?
Well, there's a difference. There's a difference between following the rules and having being religious and following the rules and having a relationship with God. one can have a relationship with God without following the rules.
Right. So
And there are many people who just follow the rules as a substitute for a relationship with God.
I agree. I agree. There are many, many people who, if they, what we would call them religious, is they've forgotten really what the purpose is. And I can relate this specifically to Judaism because that's what I know best, in that there are many, many Orthodox Jews that, in essence, have forgotten that the idea is not to pray. As a matter of fact, the word in Hebrew for prayer also means secondary. Doesn't mean not needed, but it's not the primary focus. And what happens is people get so into the prayer and so into putting on the prayer shawls and the prayer boxes,
It's filling.
phylacteries that they use, that they forget that that's supposed to bring you to the higher purpose. And what happens is, rather than build a house, they're worshiping the toolbox.
I've seen that in Catholicism too, I think. You know, all the rituals and the prayers with friends who are Catholic.
Unfortunately, things tend to, over time, they get watered down. I mean, like, you don't have to even talk about religion. You can talk about the 4th of July. I mean, in 1777, I think the 4th of July meant something different than it does now.
That's true.
Now it's not a celebration of our freedom and liberty. Now it's a day off from work and a barbecue.
Yeah.
You know, so...
And fireworks.
And fireworks, of course.
So if we're going to define spiritual faith, having a relationship with God, Dawn, have you seen that as a benefit in people in your workshops who do have a strong faith and a relationship with God as opposed to religiousness?
So,
Spirituality.
Well, see, even in paganism, many of us have a personal working with our gods and goddesses as we see them. So, and it's not going to be the same realm as Christianity and Judaism. So, but we do have relationships with, like I said, our gods and goddesses. So we're still considered a religion. Mm-hmm. We're just not an organized religion with a lot of rules. We have one rule, though different paths have different rules, but, you know, that is the main one.
Do different people of your belief follow the same things?
It depends. I mean, like I said, paganism is an umbrella term. You've got Native Americans, which will have different rules with their paths. You have Wiccans.
But the Native Americans follow their own set of rules.
Right, for the most part. Wiccans follow theirs. Druids follow theirs. Asatru. You've got a bunch of different groups under the pagan umbrella.
And where do the rules come from?
The rules come from, well, you've got me on that one, because the Druids are understood from ancient times. These are things that were written down even before Christianity.
All right, so there's some text or some set of common beliefs in each of these systems, albeit that they're different systems, because again, right. You know, relating it back to Judaism, there's Reform Judaism that believes certain things, Reconstructionists, and there's a whole different set. But they all follow, they do follow a certain set of, I guess you could call them rules, for if you don't have a better word for it.
Now, is there a relationship between paganism and Satanism? And and what is that?
See, you're going to get me in trouble on that one, because a lot of people believe that Satanism falls under Christianity umbrella, because you have to, and don't kill me, but because you have to believe in God to believe in Satan. Those in paganism don't believe in Satan, therefore Satanism wouldn't be a pagan path.
Now in Judaism,
Go ahead, Nora.
Go ahead, Nora, please.
No, I was going to say, like, I know I've heard of some people who actually worship Satan, but like the organized Satanists, like LaVey and those people who actually set up the Church of Satan, didn't actually believe in Satan. They were just hedonists, and they used Satanism as like a term to sort of describe hedonism as an organized religion, I guess, as they thought.
Yeah, that's how what my research showed more of that. They talked more about the LaVeyan Satanism and the people who actually set up the Church of Satan. For the record, I did ask a couple Satanists to come on the show, but they declined to be on the show, apparently, with a born-again Christian girl such as myself, or they were afraid of us. So we win this round, Satanists.
And we've been kind to everybody. We haven't embarrassed anybody.
Exactly. I would have loved to have them. I would have loved, you know why I would have loved to have them on? Because there's stereotypes about that as well. You know, in my research, I think the stereotype is that Satanists, anything goes as far as sex. you know, anything violent, anything coercive. And actually, when I was reading about the 11 satanic rules of earth, there was only 2 instructions regarding sex. One was do not